The National Commission on Teaching in America's Future has recently announced a new Great Teaching Initiative, and it really is around a national imperative that we see that every single student should have access to a great teaching to prepare them to be successful in college, career, and life. As a national organization in the United States, we believe that we can serve as a conveyor of a shared sense of ideas and understandings, and really to be an advocate and a voice for equity and access. In the United States, more than 50% of the students in public schools are living in poverty today. Only 41% of those children in low-income communities are enrolled in preschool, compared with 61% in wealthier communities. And only 57% of African American students and 2/3 of Hispanic students even have access to the full range of courses that we say they need to be ready for college, career, and life. So I think the first thing we need to do is acknowledge that a new kind of learning is required. And second, we have to believe that every student is capable of achieving that new kind of learning. And in order to do this, I couldn't agree more, the real heart of this is around teaching. And how can we support great teaching for every single student? I would mention three sort of areas that NCTAF is looking at in terms of these policies. One is around learning environments. Thinking of how we can restructure learning environments to really be around the needs of individual students. How can we figure out for each student where they are now and accelerate their learning so that they can get to this point where they are equitably able to be ready for college, career, and life. Another place where we spend a lot of time is thinking about teacher preparation. We heard in the comments earlier today that this is a considerable issue in this country. It's a considerable issue in the United States as well. One of the things that NCTAF is really advocating is building better partnerships between colleges of education and the school districts where those teachers are going to be both prepared and then will eventually end up teaching. We need to eliminate that artificial handoff of one day you're with the College of Education and the next day you're with a district, and there's no transition or working together between those two bodies. NCTAF really believes that a full year of clinical practice should be part of all teacher preparation programs, and that that clinical practice should take place in schools where you want these teachers to come and teach, so that they walk in on day one prepared and knowledgeable about the student body that they're working with and the conditions and how to be effective in those sorts of situations. We also think that one way to attract some real strong teachers to low-income schools is to build in residencies for college faculty within those schools so that they're doing research in those schools and bringing in a higher level of thinking about how to make things work and attracting the best researchers and the best teachers at the same time. The next area is really around this idea of capacity building, and Anna, you spoke so eloquently about sort of the need to improve the working conditions and really look at this issue of retention. We need to make teaching a profession one that folks want to stay in. And I think that the TALIS data really helps to show this. And I would just note too, we have very similar data. You mentioned about the career satisfaction. So in the United States, in the TALIS data, when asked, teachers who said that they would do it again, if they could be a teacher, they would do the same career again, was about 89% in the United States and 82% in England. I think, though, what's really interesting is that there's a juxtaposition with how those same teachers surveyed felt that society believed in their profession. Were they valued as a profession? In the United States, those same teachers, who 89% said they would do it again if they could be a teacher, only 34% said that they felt that the society as a whole valued their profession. And in the United Kingdom, 35%. So we really have an issue here where people want to be teachers, but then don't feel valued in the job that they do. We also looked at the number of hours that teachers are spending working. In the United States, we have the distinction not of the most hours worked, but then most hours in front of the classroom. So United States teachers spend about 27 hours a week in front of the class. And when I tell my non-educator friends about this startling statistic to me, they say, well, what do you mean? What else would a teacher do besides stand in front of the class and teach? And so this idea of building in collaboration, chances to go in and see other teachers' work, chances to look at student data and reflect on how you could improve your practice. These are all pieces of working that we need to build into profession in order to make it one where the practice can really improve. The final thing that I would say is that if I had my slide deck, I often put up this slide that has 4 graphs on it. And people, I mean, you can just see the groans when I put this slide up. She's really going to put 4 graphs on one slide. But I call it my slide of nevers. Because really what it does is it pulls from the TALIS data 4 different things that teachers never have a chance to do. So in the United States, 54% of teachers say they never have a chance to teach jointly as a team. And in England, 41% of teachers say they never have a chance to teach jointly as a team. In the United States, 42% say they never engage in joint activities across classes. And in England, 34% say they never have the chance to do that. In the United States, 50% of teachers say they never observe other classes. Imagine never getting to go in and see the work that your peers are doing so that you can both learn and provide feedback to them. In England, 18%. So you all are doing a better job there. And then finally, and this one really is striking to me because it seems so obvious, but never having had the chance to exchange teaching materials with colleagues. So you don't share resources. In the United States, 9% of teachers, so 1 in 10 of every teacher says that they never share materials. And in England, that's about 2%. So again, it seems like you all may be doing slightly better, but still that seems to me that's something that should be part of a working environment. So I think that as we all sort of tackle these things, we need to change this. We need to provide multi-year induction for new teachers so that they stay in the classrooms. We need to ensure strong leadership that's supporting teachers, and we also need to give those leaders the same kind of capacity building that we're looking at for teachers. And we need to ensure teacher voice is part of building these systems so that we're really changing things in a way that matters to teachers so that they can go and be the best in their practice that they can be. So thank you for having me today.